Hi, I'm Carmen LaBerge. Thanks for listening to the podcast of Mornings with Carmen LaBerge.
Helping you wake up, remembering this is our Father's world. This is Mornings with Carmen LaBerge on Faith Radio.
So Cesar Vidal is an internationally well-known character who may be completely unknown to you. In addition to being the author of 180 books and a podcast host that gets nearly 2 million downloads a month, suffice it to say, slightly more than Mornings with Carmen. He lives in Miami now. He has been a prominent media voice in his home country of Spain for many years, but his views have forced him out of Spain. He now lives here in the United States, lives in Miami. He has become a legalized U.S. citizen. He has a new book out, yes, in English, A Changing World, Patriotism Against a Globalist Agenda. It's meaty, it's weighty, but it has so much really good content in it that I am excited to bring Cesar's worldview to our audience here at Mornings with Carmen. So, joining me now, Cesar Vidal. You may not recognize his name, but if you have been paying attention to global politics, and particularly the way that democracies rise and bloom across the world, then you are already a fan. Cesar hosts a wildly popular podcast. He lives in Miami, Florida now. He is a native of Spain, and he is the author of, I don't know, some 180 books, but the newest one is the one I'm holding in my hand now, and it's called A Changing World, Patriotism Against a Globalist Agenda. Cesar, welcome to Mornings with Carmen.
Thank you very much. I must tell you that I'm an American citizen, and I'm proud of it. I was born and bred in Spain, but right now I'm American.
I know, and I love that. And you write like an American, and you advocate for democratic principles, and you are helping us to not only see but hear when other people are advocating for what the term you're using is a globalist agenda. So what I would like for you to start with is defining for our audience, what is a globalist agenda?
Well, this is very clear because some persons may think that we are conspiranoics or something so, but there's a real definition of the globalist agenda in the memoirs of David Rockefeller. In the page 405, Rockefeller is telling, some even believe we, Rockefeller family, are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One word, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. This is the definition of David Rockefeller himself. The globalist agenda is a secret cabal working against the best interests not only of the United States, but the different countries, and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One word, if you will.
So, Cesar, you and I both know that if we were to Google globalist agenda, what would come up is Wikipedia's entry, which describes it all as a conspiracy theory and a hypothesis. But what you lay out in the book is there's a lot of evidence to where we don't have to say, hey, these are the specific families involved, but there are some key individuals who are easy to identify, and you do that in the book. There are also some themes, or the word you use is dogmas, which are also easy to identify when we're talking about the globalist agenda. And one of those would be kind of the deconstruction of nationalism altogether. So can you talk about how it is that, a particular nation's identity is really sought to be deconstructed or torn down when a person adopts a globalist agenda?
Well, this is very clear. The globalist agenda has three foes, three enemies. The first are the countries, are the national identity. The second are family. The third one is biblical Christians. I underline this. Biblical Christians. Well, the first is the national identity, because if you want to create a new word, one word, you must destroy the national identities. And this is very easy. You must know that, for example, 80% of the information we are receiving through media is in the hands of only 8 transnational corporations. And of course, you are excluding China, India, or Russia, so that we are in the hands of 8 transnational, brainwashing most of the Western population. And you must delete totally our national identity. You must talk, for example, a couple weeks ago, I was in a debate in a very important TV corporation, and the other person was telling me that U.S. was built up upon the slavery of black people, the theft of Mexicans, and the oppression of the Native Americans. And I was obligated to tell, this is totally false, this is totally true, and you are trying to destroy the national identity. You are blaming people of things that are totally twisted in a historical way. And of course, this is one of the targets of the globalist agenda. We want to make you feel ashamed because of your past. But in the case of US, of course, we have dark pages in the past, but we cannot forget that US is the first modern democracy. We never have a dictatorship. We never have communists in power. We never had fascist state in US. And this country has been a real shining light to the rest of the planet, so that we must not feel ashamed. Of course, there are some few dark pages, but the bright and good pages in our history are very important, and the globalist agenda cannot tolerate this.
Cesar, one of the reasons that the globalist agenda can't tolerate any nation, having highlights, right, as opposed to just always pointing out the lowlights, is that it would suggest that the way that one group of people or one nation is pursuing a future filled with hope or human flourishing is better than the way other nations are currently pursuing it. But there's no way, I would argue, there is no way that democracy can flourish if particular people groups in particular places aren't self-governing. And there's no way to be self-governing if there's some globalist group ultimately governing all of it. I mean, am I wrong that nationalism is actually important in terms of human flourishing?
Well, I think not nationalism, but patriotism.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that word.
Yes, there is a very important difference. Well, a good French patriot, General de Gaulle, who was leading the resistance against the Nazis in World War II, was telling, the nationalist is a man who loves his country but needs to hate the other countries. The patriot loves his country and he doesn't need hate the other countries. I'm a real American patriot. I'm not an American nationalist. I can love this country and I don't need to hate another countries to love my country. And I think this is very important because this was the case of Jefferson or Washington or Lincoln. They didn't need to hate any country. Even in the case of the founding fathers, they didn't hate UK. They didn't hate England. They, accept the English roots of most of them. But certainly they did love US, they did love America, and I think this is very important. And of course, this is totally opposite to this kind of way of making things of the globalist agenda that is going against the patriotism, is against the country, the love of the country. You are dividing the country. We are not Americans. We are, black, Hispanic, gays, feminists, etc. But we are not Americans. We are devised to try to erode the roots of this country. And this is very important.
A Changing World, Patriotism Against a Globalist Agenda. It's excellent. I have, I probably have about 50 dog-eared pages in here, Cesar. And so I know I won't get through all of these questions, but I'd like to circle back around. We talked about the first enemy of globalism, and that being national identity. But the next two are really critical. The enemies of globalism and globalization being family and biblical Christians. Let's talk about those two and how they are under attack.
Well, first, the family is a stumbling block to the globalist agenda for two reasons. The globalist agenda wants to load the demography, the population in this planet, so that, everybody knows that the population of this planet is closely linked to family. And second, the family is the last refuge, the last trench that human beings have in any situation. Wall Street can collapse, the institution can crumble, and anybody can go to his family and ask for help. So that we must destroy family, because it's the straight way to have a lot of sheep in this tiny blue planet and without any kind of help. This is done through the gender ideology, the gender agenda, but also through abortion and a more and more liberal abortion. Let me give you a couple numbers. From the 80s, the legalization of abortion in most of the Western countries in the 80s, we have had 1,400 millions of abortions. So that we have destroyed through abortion over the total population of China. This is incredible. This is more than 20 times the death in both wars. This is incredible. But let me give you another number. Everybody knows about Black Lives Matter. Well, the Black lives destroyed through abortion in U.S. since 80s till now is 18 million Black lives. Nobody seems matter about these Black lives, but this is the triple. This is 3 times the Jews that perished during the Holocaust in Europe. So that, we're trying to destroy family. We're going to destroy the persons that are unborn. We're going to destroy the aged people through euthanasia laws in the future. Now, there are several euthanasia laws in Western Europe, even in Spain, where I was born. And this is added to the gender ideology. Of course, everybody knows that homosexuality is not producing new birth. If every one of us would be homosexual, our human species have disappeared from this planet millennia ago. So that the second target is family. We're going to destroy family. We're going to talk about, we have a lot of families. We're going to destroy the love between a man and a woman. We're going to make them enemies fighting against each other. And this is the second target of the globalist agenda.
And the third is biblical Christians. And that is a very specific definition, and you're really highlighting there the term biblical.
Yeah, and this is very important. Let me give you again another number. In the first days of the past year, 2019, in Bogota, Colombia, there was a kind of big meeting of the LGTBI corporations, organizations in Latin America. And they arrived to three conclusions. First, the globalist agenda, and in a very specific way, the gender ideology is stopped in Latin America. We must arrive to our target several years ago, but we are stopped. Second conclusion, we must blame of this stop to the evangelical churches, because they have gone out to the streets defending life and family, and they have stopped us. We don't have any kind of problem with Roman Catholic Church, because it's true, some of the Roman Catholic are people very pro-life and pro-family, but the organization is a kind of pyramid, is a hierarchy, and we can cut a deal with them. The problem is the price, but we can cut a deal. But these evangelicals are unorganized. They have not a hierarchy. They are not like an army, and they have stopped our agenda in Latin America. Third conclusion, we must destroy them. We must infiltrate them. So that this is not the idea, the conspiranoic idea of some Peruvian or Mexican evangelical. Probably most of the evangelicals in Latin America does know about this, but these were the unanimous conclusions of the LGTBI organizations of whole Latin America. A real problem are people with principles, with biblical principles that are not organized, that are only grassroots, but that have decided to go to the streets telling, please don't touch my children. We're going to defend life. We're going to defend the family. So that this is very important. We must destroy the strength and the soul of the countries, of the nations. We must destroy the family, because it's the last strength to defend ourselves. And we must destroy people who have spiritual principles that are pro-life and, of course, pro-family. I think this is very clear, and I must insist, this is not a speculation. Anybody who goes to my book can read hundreds and hundreds of sources telling this, because the globalist agenda is very clear, and many times they publish their targets, and they do in a very candid way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Cesar, we have to leave it right there today, but I look forward to a future conversation with you. Cesar Vidal, the book is A Changing World, Patriotism Against a Globalist Agenda. I want to let you know that the fifth part of the book is actually, how to resist it, the resistance to the globalist agenda. So there's a lot of hope in this book as well. There's some how-to at the end, but man, he lays it out. He lays it out in terms of why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. Cesar, thank you so much for joining us today on Mornings with Carmen.
Thank you very much, Carmen. It was a real pleasure and a real privilege.
Yeah, it was our honor.
Helping you wake up, remembering this is our Father's world. This is Mornings with Carmen LaBerge on Faith Radio.